Live Land. I'm Danny Holbrook, joined alongside Miles Holliday and Nate Garlock. We're here at the state semifinals at the Nutter Center on the campus of Wright State University. And gentlemen, the state finals will be all about Lima Land.
Yes, they will. I can't believe they finally let us out of the studio and sent it somewhere. But I'll tell you what, the highlights that they're about to come up, they're going to speak for themselves.
Two great stories, right? You have the dominance of DSJ and then the Cinderella story of Kalida. It's going to be fantastic.
Guys, let's take a look at the highlights right now.
Delphus St. John's taking the court here at the Nutter Center. We've got a big crowd on hand as the Blue Jays strike early. Jackson Weekert finds Easton Elwer down low for the bucket. And then it's going to be Weekert getting it in transition. He lays it up plus the foul. He'll head to the free throw line. Cam Elwer takes it to the hoop here. He scores, making it an early 6-2 Blue Jay lead. And then it's going to be Maddox Krieger getting on the board here as he cleans up at the offensive glass and the putback. Late in the first, it's Krieger again, this time in transition. He pump fakes and gets the bucket. Delphus St. John's up 12-5. Moving on to the second quarter as the Jays extend their lead with the bucket from Weekert, making it 16-5. And then it's going to be Cam Elwer getting his own rebound and putback. He puts the Blue Jays on top 18-8. Later, it's Weekert again. This time he buries the three, making it 21-10 Delphus St. John's. Same spot, same result. Weekert from the corner again. St. John's is rolling. Third quarter action now as Cam Elwer finds Braden Klaus, and it is now 29-12. St. John's continuing to pull away as Andrew Elwer hits the three, and it's 44-20 Blue Jays. Under 5 seconds to go in the third, and Tice McLean hits the step-back three, making it 51-21 after three Blue Jays. And they keep it on it as they're going to pull ahead and win 61-32. They're going to play for a state title.
We're back here at the Nutter Center on the campus of Wright State University, where today the Delphus St. John's Blue Jays, they take down Malvern 61-32. And guys, it was a workmanlike performance. Not their best performance, but I really don't think they had to.
They came out, had a game plan, right? Ran a high-low set right away, got 2 easy points. People always talk about how good DSJ is on the offensive end, hitting 3 balls. Their first 9 shots came from 5 feet and in. They had a really good game plan, and defensively, boy, they just ate Malvern up. They are so good on the defensive end. Danny, everybody says you better have a big guy to beat DSJ. Now, I would continue, you better have really good guard play because they are fantastic on the perimeter.
Yeah, Nate, you look at this Delphus St. John's squad, and they've done the same thing all year. Incredible guard play, great shooting. They didn't do great shooting today from beyond the arc, but inside the arc, they were just fantastic.
You know, I mean, the weird thing about this is it almost seemed like a little bit of an off night for the Blue Jays.
Right.
We didn't see them be as sharp as we're used to seeing them. You know, Cam had a quiet night by his standards.
Yeah.
You know, only a one 3-pointer. Only took 8 shots from the field tonight. That's very rare for him. But the other guys around him stepped up. Jackson Weekert was 100% from the floor tonight. This is what makes this team so dangerous. Even when the superstar, the guy that everybody knows, doesn't play up to the level that we're used to seeing, it doesn't matter. They still are dominant. The other guys are there. They have so many good players, and that's why they're going to be a favorite going into that state title game.
It was a dominant performance, and they got a little cherry on top with the 3-ball by Ian Fairchild. That was special, wasn't
it? Yeah, I'll tell you what, the Delphus St. John's crowd was incredible. They were lined up hours before this game started. They filled up the entire side of the Nutter Center. There had to be 3,000-4,000 Delphus St. John's fans.
They did what DSJ fans do. They show up early and often, and they packed the place, and they recognized Danny Holbrook, which was amazing.
Right, they did, yeah.
And listen, I want to give them a lot of love here too, because, you know, we talked about the state tournament here has a very heavy Lima area feel to it. We have a lot of local teams playing really great. One of those teams, Lima Senior, they came early. They wanted to watch this Delphus St. John's team. As they go to leave, the Delphus St. John's fans, every fan rose to their feet, gave them a standing ovation as they left. It just shows you how much everybody appreciates great basketball and what makes the state tournament so special.
So the Delphus St. John's Blue Jays, they move on to the state finals. Let's go over to the press conference and see what Coach Elwer has to say.
Well, thanks for being here. Obviously, it was an extremely happy locker room. And the satellite reporter said it's been 24 years since Delphus St. John's has played in a state title game, and I told her that it was too long, and and we're looking forward to that opportunity tomorrow afternoon. You know, these guys have taken on a lot this year. You know, expectations, a big target on their back. Just so proud of our guys, our program. I know our community is really, really proud of these guys, and they've been so fun to follow along. And it's been a great group to coach. And today was no different. Malvern, what a great year and a great run they've had, and Coach Tucci for 33 years. You don't see that very often anymore in this profession. And they really wanted a game tough and physical. They wanted to be deliberate and limit possessions. And to our guys' credit, I thought we handled it well. Was it perfect and clean? No, but I think Malvern had a hand in that, and they did a good job of what they wanted to do in the game plan. But at this point, it's about winning. Whether it's perfect or not, it's about advancing and fighting for tomorrow, and that's what our guys have done. Yeah, certainly. It just never, and again, the way they played defensively and then deliberate with the ball, we can never, like you said, get in a great flow offensively. And I know that these guys have mentioned, sometimes, Dad, that can be tough to play against, and we get all that. But at the end of the day, everybody's putting a game plan together to try to take away what we do best, and that was their approach, and give them credit, because I thought they executed it well. But our hand, we've seen a bunch of different ways, and we've seen the deliberate play before, and we've got some different things in which we try to speed up and get more possessions, and our guys did a good job of executing that. And like you said, like the kind of new word out there is spurtability. This group has that more than any other group I've ever coached, and we just feel at some point it's coming. You just got to be patient, and every game will play and dictate when that spurtability comes. Yeah, so happy for Jackson. You talk about a guy that puts in a lot of time, and these guys kind of get a little bit of the publicity, and deservedly so, but our other guys are right there. And if you go back last year, and again, I'm going back a little bit, but he made 5 threes against Marion Local at our place. It got us over the hump there in the third and fourth quarter. So he's definitely confident. He's definitely capable, and the work that he puts in, it was really cool for him to kind of have that moment out there today. Yeah, like again, the saying about pick your poison, and I get wanting to limit Cam. But the good thing about us, and I've told these guys since growing up, that for our teammates and your friends to be in the gym, because those guys are going to play a critical role in our success. And these groups, the juniors, the seniors, have played a great role in that. Like, they understand that there's 5 guys on the floor, and all of our guys need to be accounted for in a different way. And you talk about Cam, what makes him so great is his ability to facilitate and understand they're running 2 guys at him, and they're really ball side heavy, and really not to force. And that was evident again today, and trusting his teammates, and those guys understand that, and they were up to the moment. Well, they probably should look for each other. They've been attached at the gym for a long, long time. They have a great feel for each other. They know how to play the game of basketball, and they've played a lot. So they're in sync, and they kind of feed off each other. And when that doesn't occur, like, they're able to find their other teammates and put them in the best position to be successful. So a credit to a lot of time and work, dedication to their craft, and obviously it's paid off in a big, big way. Probably not as much as you might think. We don't discuss a lot of basketball at home in respects into our program, and just because we want to keep the coach dad title separately. And I'm not saying that we do not. I'm not saying that, but I'm sure it's been in their mind. It's been in my mind for a long time. At the end of the day, this was a long process. It started a long time ago, and for them to try to reach their ceiling and be as good as they can possibly be, and it just happened, that this year it's worked out really well, and we get a shot to win the whole thing tomorrow afternoon. For sure, we're 15, 20 minutes away, and way back in November, that's where it started, and both teams are so differently. I know they're playing some different personnel, and they're going a little bit deeper. We had a lot of injuries in November, and some guys just getting back from injuries. Andrew didn't play at all in that game. So yeah, we're both different. Obviously, both teams are playing really well at this point. So yeah, that would be definitely a unique and special situation.
We're extremely blessed to be able to play in this at Dayton Arena, and opportunity. God has blessed us with so many things, and I'm just so proud of our guys for all the work that they put in, all the time spent, the sweat equity, and I think they deserve that shot, that go around in UD Arena, and we're gonna make the most of it.
Yeah, a unique situation for Cam and our family, our program. It's been a long journey and a long process for all of our guys. And for Cameron, his whole career has been nothing short of elite. Nothing short of elite for 4 straight years. For him to be mentioned last year as a finalist completely caught us off guard. and then to finish runner-up probably caught us even more off guard. And this year not as much because he continued to do what he did and then probably was actually better this year than last year. So to be mentioned there is just a true testament and tribute to everything that he's done since he's been a little guy. And it's been so cool to be a part of that journey. I do know this. I do know that he's the most efficient player in the state of Ohio, and that's definitely not a question. What he's done, now for 104 games as a Delphos St. John's Blue Jay has been absolutely incredible, and the community loves him for that, and they should. Yeah, well, we're going to watch the game as a team. Obviously, we're prepared as coaches to play either team, and we'll put together all of the scout, the game plan and preparation. Then we'll go back to the hotel, get ourselves checked in. The guys will relax. I'm sure the coaches will continue to go to work. We have a team meeting around 5 or 5:15. Then at 6, we're going to go get a nice meal together. And then we're going to come back and relax. I'm sure they're going to watch some NCAA. The lights will go out early. Hopefully we get a good night's sleep in the hotel. Then tomorrow morning will be a typical Saturday routine for us. Breakfast, we'll have a run-through practice, have a light lunch, and then get ourselves ready to go at 4:15.
Furman a 9 out of 10. Go Dan. Go Dan.
The lights might be out by then, though.
Ultimate Outdoor. Bring resort-style living to your backyard with a luxury outdoor space by Ultimate Outdoor. Johnson Mechanical is proud to support today's broadcast. Call the office today for all your HVAC needs. We service all makes and models. Good luck, area teams. Superior Credit Union, home of the Spirit checking account and a proud sponsor of local schools and athletics.
Game 2 here at the Nether Center. The Kalida Wildcats take on the Hillsdale Falcons. Let's take a look at today's highlights.
Kalida fired up for our second Division 7 game here tonight. Logan Kerner puts the Wildcats on the board as he hits the early 3. And then it's going to be Kalida. They're on a scoring drought until Gavin Lease gets up for the two-handed jam, but Kalida's trailing 11-5. And it's going to be Lease hitting the 3, making it 16-8. Hillsdale still in control. And Corey Record gets it in transition, and he lays it in. Kalida down 6 now. 7 seconds to go. Lease hits the 3 after 1. Hillsdale leads 18-13. Moving on to the second quarter. It is going to be Kerner laying it in. Kalida making a run, only down 3. Later, it's Parker Vorse getting open down low, and he scores, giving Kalida a 19-18 lead. Third quarter now as Vorse lays it in, but Kalida is down 32-26. Vorse picks it up, another bucket, and it is now 33-30 Hillsdale. Paul Steckschulte, he's going to connect on a 3. Kalida now down just 2. Kalida coming back. Owen Grimm drives and he scores, plus the foul. That ties it at 35. Under a minute to go in the third. Lease hits the 3. Kalida up 40-36. Kalida, they're going to keep the pressure on as Blake Remlinger scores down low. He makes it 42-36. And then it's Grimm driving, getting the tough bucket, 44-40 Wildcats. Grimm now going to find Lease for the easy bucket. 48-44 Kalida with 3:45 to go in the game. Grimm continuing his good second half as he drives and scores. Kalida up 50-44 late in the fourth quarter. 2 minutes to go, and Steckschulte scores in transition, making it 52-44, and that would be the dagger as Kalida goes on to win 58-46, and they will meet Delphos St. John's for the second time this year, playing for the Division 7 state title.
We're back here at the Nutter Center on the campus of Wright State University, where the Kalida Wildcats pick up a 58-46 win over the Hillsdale Falcons. And gentlemen, That was a pretty close game until about the middle of the third quarter. Kalida just took over.
Yeah, it was a game that really started out. We all thought it was going to be Hillsdale in a runaway. Coach Steschulte calls timeout, and that game changed right after that. It's in the press conference, talked about their toughness and getting back in defense. That was a big point. But how about Lease and Kerner just carrying the load for them in the first half? A couple big threes that kept them in it when it looked like it was going to be a Hillsdale runaway.
Yeah, I mean, the turnaround that they did in that game, it was incredible, especially in the second half. The way that defense started to clamp down on Hillsdale, really held them in check, allowed them to come back from a big deficit. They kept this one close. They finally got the lead back. They had a lead early in that first quarter. Right around the 6-minute mark, they were up by 1. They didn't hold a lead again until almost the end of that third quarter. And then once they had the lead, you could just feel it. The bench, the stands, everybody was into it. And listen, this Kalida team, we had talked about this in other broadcasts. They were 4-8 at one point this season.
4-9 actually.
Yeah,
they had an absolutely brutal schedule. Nobody was looking at this team as a potential team that's going to make a chance to have a state title. That showed right there, especially in this new world that we're in. You're going to have opportunities. Get your schedule, get your teams, challenge yourselves, make sure your team is ready. That's exactly what Coach Steschulte did, and now they're 1 win away from a state championship.
And you look at this team, Miles, Owen Grimm didn't have a point until 3:15 of the third quarter. The rest of this sophomore class, sensational, by the way. They're going to be back again. Yeah, watch out. They did everything else.
Well, I thought Coach Steschulte did a great job of praising Owen Grimm after the game. He said he's a traditional point guard, doesn't need to score, wants to distribute the basketball first and foremost. However, he was smart, though. Once Hillsdale got in foul trouble, what did he do? Started to hunt his own shot, took guys with 4 fouls to the hoop. He's a very smart basketball player, and he's going to have to be really smart tomorrow when they play DSJ.
That's my next point, guys. What a game we've got with Delphos St. John's and Kalida. They started out the year, they played each other, a DSJ win. I don't want to call this one because I'm not real sure because, look, you've got the #1 team in the state in Division 7 in Delphos St. John's, probably the clear favorite on paper, but who's playing better right now basketball than the Kalida Wildcats?
Exactly, but this is a true David versus Goliath type of game. You have the Goliath in Delphos St. John's and everything that comes with them, the undefeated record, all of the records that Cam Elwer has been able to put on, moving up the scoring list, all the things that he's accomplished in his career. They're looking to put the cherry on top of this season. A state championship that they felt like they should have won several times by this point that has just been out of their reach. And then you have David. You have Kalida, a team that at one point was 5 games under 500 this season, and they have gotten on a run. They have beaten really good teams to get here, and they are not going to be satisfied with second place.
I don't know if I'm more surprised that Kalida's made it as far or you know your actual Bible scriptures.
Very good. All right, let's go over to the press conference and see what Coach Steschulte had to say.
You know, they came out in the first half and took it to us. There's no question about it. 23 was a dude. You could tell that they had success at football, and he gave us problems. And, the point guard Ferguson kid is really twitchy and made what I thought some very tough shots. But, we talked at halftime about discipline, about locking in to what we need to do defensively and really making it hard on them because we felt we were a little lackluster that in the first half. And these guys really responded in the second half, and we know that when we guard well, that our offense feeds off our defense, and that's what happened in the second half.
What adjustments did you make at halftime, Coach?
You want me to be honest, Mike?
Yeah.
The adjustment was to play better. We didn't change a thing. These guys knew coming in what we had to do. It was to stick to what we believed in and what we've been doing for a long time here the second half of the year, and they really locked in, and we got great contributions from a lot of kids, and it was a fun half to be a part of.
I've only really dunked in JV, so
that one had a little extra juice, boys. That was a good one. These guys are special. We were 4-9. People didn't realize that at 4-9 we were pretty good for a small school. We battled with a lot of really good teams in our area, bigger schools, and credit to these seniors. And any of our seniors in the back, Nate and Parker, they want to win. They wanted to win, and it really started to show the middle of January. Like, we're going to do whatever it takes to win. It doesn't matter who, and it doesn't matter when or where. It can be anybody as long as we win. And our younger guys have really latched on to that, and that's how we've been playing lately, and it's such a fun thing to be part of. We talk a lot about being a star in our role, and Jackson is absolutely the epitome of that. Okay? He's our #1 communicator. He is our rebounder. When we have to run an action where we need to thread a pass, he's the one that's going to be doing it. He does so much for us on the floor that the rebounds and assists show up in the stat sheet, but he does so much more. And, you can tell he's a 3-year player. The game's really slowed down for him, and it's just fun coaching him. You never know how the game's going to start, But for Gavin to get a steal and get us going a couple threes and, kind of keep us hanging around the first half when I didn't feel we played very well, that's a big deal. We came in at halftime, not pleased with how we played, but knowing that the deficit wasn't so big that we had to do anything special other than just ourselves. Tournament's about just getting one more point than the other team and keep advancing, and that was a game that we did that. It's about the fight in this group. They don't ever give up, and we talked about that a lot early in the year. We would be down 8, 10, 12 points to some of these teams that are really good, and you could just see that these kids had fight in them no matter what the score was and what time was left, that they felt they were going to give themselves a chance. And, that's what happened in the Pettysville game, and, it's carried over these last 2 games as well. Yeah, he's good. I mean, he's shifty, he's quick, he's skilled, he does a lot of things very well, and, it was throw bodies at him and wear him down. We're very comfortable and fortunate that we have guys that are pretty versatile defensively, and sometimes we'll deal with a mismatch in the post to switch on a guard and keep pressure on a guard, and especially in the second half, their kudos to our kids. They were phenomenal. Not really. I don't think. I haven't thought about it a lot. We went to their team camp this year, and we have a ton of respect for that program, those guys, Coach Elwer. We've seen them a lot of times. We know how good they are. And we went to team camp. We talked about, hey, we feel the best team in the state right down the road from us. We might as well go join them in the team camp and see them a couple more times. And we did, and they kicked our butt. But that first game of the year, we're so different, and so are they. They were beat up. Andrew didn't play. We had a lot of guys seeing their first varsity action. So, we know what we're up against. We know that we're going to come out and let it rip, and it's a great opportunity for our kids, and we're going to be super excited to play tomorrow. It's tough. It's really hard to put words to it. It's such a cool feeling. I told these guys, I said, make sure, while we're grinding and trying to win games and doing this, but there's a certain time where you've got to enjoy these things too. This is once in a lifetime, and we're going to go back to the hotel and get something to eat and hang out and root on, watch a great Northwest Ohio matchup in Lincoln View and Marion Local tonight, and just enjoy each other. To play the last game of the season tomorrow, boys, it's going to be so fun.
Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, located in Walpock, Delphus, and St. Mary's. Locally owned and operated, Lee's is not just famous for chicken, we're famous for catering too. Charles River in Spencerville is expanding and hiring individuals interested in finding cures to disease and helping mankind. Visit jobs.criver.com to apply today. Webb Insurance Agency, serving Lima and Allen County for more than 100 years, with offices in downtown Lima and Bluffton.
So 3 wise men here, Danny Holbrook, Miles Holliday, Nate Garlock, back here at the Nutter Center on the campus of Wright State University, where the Marion Local Flyers punched their ticket to the state championship game with a 46-30 win over the Lincoln View Lancers. And guys, we saw an incredible defensive effort by the Flyers tonight. They got to the rim when they needed to, knocked down the shots they needed to, shot 50% from the floor.
Well, anytime you can hold Lincoln View to 30 points, I mean, that's an impressive effort, right? Great job defensively. I thought the game plan of fighting over top of screens to limit the three-point ability of Lincoln View was a fantastic game plan. Can't say enough about the defense Arns did on Mad Max. I mean, he really limited them. It was a great defensive effort, and what they always do, they rebound the basketball. So that's Marion Local.
Yeah, but you got to give Lincoln View a lot of credit. They stayed in this game for a really long time. They were in it early, but that defense from Marion Local just started to wear them down late. Lincoln View tonight with quarters of 12, 7, 7, and 4 in that fourth quarter. Marion Local really started to impose their will late. And Lincoln View shorthanded tonight. They did their best. This is a young team that is really poised for good things next year. But I'll tell you what, this Marion Local Flyer team, they are a force, and they are going to be very, very difficult in that state championship game.
How do you defend Mesher, right? And that was the big problem for Lincoln View here tonight.
Yeah, you saw Braylon Mesher, guys. He got to the rim basically anytime he wanted to. Finished the night with 21 points. He's such an effective floor leader out there. He can calm down that offense, get to the rim when he wants, and knock down shots when he wants.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it was that strength, it was the size, there was mismatches they were taking advantage. Mesher was doing a great job. And then late, when they needed to kill time,
they knew how to do that as well. They would drive to the lane, they pull it back out. They showed a lot of patience in doing that. Mesher had a little bit of foul trouble, ended up with 3 there late in that third quarter, but did a great job going out, continuing to play aggressive without picking up any more fouls.
We say it all the time, who's tougher than Marion Local, right?
Yeah.
This game was decided, with 48 seconds left. It's a 15-point lead. There's a loose ball over in this corner, and what do we see? We see Mesher diving for a loose ball, really when it doesn't matter, but that's the culture of Marion Local. That's what makes them so special.
Fantastic season for the Lincoln View Lancers, guys. 8 wins last year. They go to the state semifinals. Right. Look, that's a young team. I would not be surprised if we don't see them back here next year.
Yeah, it's a very young team, right? They're going to lose Evans. He was so fantastic for them this year, and I thought that Marion Local did a great job of limiting his ability, got in some foul trouble. Both coaches, I thought, Nate, did a really good job navigating foul trouble with their teams here.
Yeah, and Lincoln View also did a nice job navigating being shorthanded. We talked about they had some injuries that weakened them a little bit coming into this game. Did a fantastic job working around that. And again, we talked about it. They're a young team. There's a ton of talent. They know how to score. They're going to be better next year than they were this year, and everybody should watch out.
Evans was their big guy at 6 foot for them this year. Yeah. They're not going to have that problem next year. That Hatfield kid, the freshman, he's going to be something special.
He got a lot of minutes tonight. Looked real good.
Yeah. Let's send it over to the press conference and hear from the coaches.
I think that was a great basketball game between 2 really good Northwest high school basketball programs. Lincoln View, credit to Coach Hammonds. They are really hard to guard. He has absolutely maximized that team this year. Like I told some of the other reporters, they play as hard as anybody we've seen all year. They're the best cutting team we've seen all year. And, I told our kids, usually it takes us maybe a quarter, maybe a half to get dialed in on the other team's tendencies. And, I challenged Kale at half. I said, you played good defense in the first half, but we need great. And in the second half, we just really locked in defensively, blocked a ton of shots at the rim. It was a very physical basketball game. But the story of the game, I thought, was we locked in defensively. And we finally got a 5 to 7 point lead where we could spread them out. And then once we were able to spread them out, we were able to get to the rim and get some easy ones. Obviously, the score's not indicative of what type of tough, difficult game that was. Yeah, it's great that we had a whole week to prep for these guys. I'm pretty good friends with Dave Sheldon over at Colonel Crawford, and they had to try to guard those guys on 48 hours, which is a lot more difficult. We had a whole week of prep. And Brennan Hess has stepped up as a sophomore. He had to guard big Dom Black last Saturday, Tri-Village, big 300-pound kid, and he held him to 4 points. And now he's got to guard a completely different type of player. And he just did a great job. We want him to jump second. And, early in the year with him being a sophomore, he was leaving his feet a lot. But tonight, he just did a whale of a job staying on his feet and jumping second. And then obviously his size advantage helped him. And he's going to have to do it one more time. He's going to be facing, Berlin Highlands' best player tomorrow night. So we're going to need it one more time. He's a great guy. And he told me, and it's obvious, they're really hard to guard, but you're more athletic than we are out front. And I thought our athleticism out front, we were able to keep them at bay to some degree. And you made a great point with, 10 is the key to their offense. Evans at the nail. And we didn't want him to catch the ball right on the nail. He had to catch it higher. And just little stuff like that.
I mean, watching film, I expected them to play hard, but they hit a little harder than I thought they were going to. I mean, they got into us all game, and they were definitely more physical than I thought, but we knew they were going to play as hard as they could, and they did that.
Well, the assistant coaches did a good job. We got great assistants, and they told me, to tell these guys at halftime, we're taking quick shots. We had 9 turnovers. The threes we want to shoot are inside-out threes. And then we, if we miss, we have rebounders at the rim. But we were taking quick shots, turning it over, and having to play defense for 50 seconds. That's a hard way to live when you're having to just constantly playing defense the whole half. So the edict at halftime was move the basketball more, flip it side to side, and make them work a little bit. And, they were packing it in so much on our drives, and when we threw it in there, they were just sucking down into the paint. So we had to move the ball first, because if you don't, they're just going to be right there, and they're great at poking it out. It's kind of like I said before. Our kids have a tendency after a quarter or two to kind of figure the other team out, get up to speed. We obviously want to play from ahead. So we did a good job of at least staying ahead the first half. But in the second half, we just flat out got stop after stop, and we were able to gap them. It's really more of a product of our kids. We have really smart kids. They internalize a lot, X's and O's and things of that nature, and they just dialed in the second half. It's just a lot of what we just said. Like, he gets so many shots off flares, and they backdoor so well. And it's hard for a team like us because we're not a pack line team. We're a wing deny team. We want to try to take you out of your offense and get tips and steals and deflections. So your tendency is to go out there and get back cut sometimes. But, again, 4 days of prep really helped. And again, once we got dialed in, the biggest thing was, our mantra all year is make them make tough twos. Any team we're playing over our size, you got to make tough twos. We're not giving you a 3, and we're not going to bail you out and foul you and put you on the line. We're going to wall you up at the rim, and if you make a few, we'll live with that. We can live with that. But, one other thing I want to mention, this guy over here, he made some big shots for us again. He's been doing it all tournament. New Bremen game, he made some big shots against Tri-Village, and he hit a couple big ones to get us a lead in the first half. And obviously, he's improved so much defensively as well, too, from a sophomore to junior to senior year. It's a total team effort. Well, first of all, I'll say Highland, they're probably the most elite small school basketball program in the state. So, and we obviously have a really good athletic tradition as well. So it's a very cool Division VI state championship game against a tremendous coach that's been doing it for a long time. I have stud assistants. They are so good. They make me look really good. And we've prepared ahead. We scouted Kirtland. We've scouted Highland. So we're already – 2/3, 3/4 of the way done. The biggest thing is just getting our legs back under us. These guys got to have a great 24 hours in terms of their legs and getting good sleep and hydrating and things of that nature. And we'll have fun tonight in the war room trying to figure it out a little bit more. And then we'll have a couple walkthroughs tomorrow. But, we'll be ready. We'll be prepared. These guys are good on a short cycle prep, so we'll be ready.
Coming in, we knew Marion Local was going to be a heck of a basketball team. Like we told other people, there's a reason they're number 1 in the state. And their only loss is Adelphi St. John's. And we knew it was going to be a challenge. And we knew the uphill battle we had to face when it came to size and physicality. And, we preached that all week long. And, coming in, I thought our kids battled for the most part. We got in a little bit of foul trouble, which kind of hurt us. But I thought we battled. We just struggled to score. And if you look at a lot of teams' scoring outputs against them, a lot of teams are in the 30s because they do such a great job on the defensive end with their physicality and their length and how well they're coached. And, it just gave us problems. And it was tough to get shots off tonight. And, I think the final score doesn't dictate how close the game was and how hard we battled. With it being 3 points at halftime and I think 5 or 6 right there going into the fourth quarter with both quarters starting with the ball in our hands. And, it was unfortunate we couldn't execute those first possessions. But I just give all credit to these guys and give credit to Marion Local that they were able to execute and make their free throws down the stretch. And, it's a tough one to take. We got this far, but, underclassmen kind of got to learn from this and, understand what it takes. But, credit to Marion Local and their team. And, like we said, good luck for them tomorrow. Yeah, they're just a whole different animal of a team that we've ever faced before, with every position having length and their wingspan being so long. And, we tried to jump and go through them, but their long arms were just long and they're so athletic. It just, not even if they're in position, just their hands in the passing lanes made things difficult. And, they could give Gavin a step and was still able to kind of stay in front of him and block shots when he went down in there. And those are things he's usually able to, finish for us throughout this season. And, Marion Local did a great job of taking it away. And our guys struggled even to get shots off on the perimeter. We'd run stuff and they'd get out there with high hands. And, it caused issues. We had our lowest scoring output, I think, of the season and one of our lowest field goal percentage. And that's a credit to them for how hard it was for us to be able to get shots off tonight. Well, these guys, everyone doubted us. We were 5-18 last year. These seniors through 3 years of high school had 13 wins combined. We weren't the tallest team. No one expected a whole lot. And for us to end up the year 22-6 and losing a state semifinal game, it's just unbelievable. I told these guys, us coaches were talking with them. It's just some people are going to remember down the road. the ride they took us on. And, Gavin, after the game, obviously was emotional in tears, apologizing to me. I'm like, there's no reason to apologize to me. You gave us one of the best rides Lincoln View's ever went on. And it's just awesome. And it's to them, it's to these seniors, it's to the rest of our players. It's been so darn fun coaching them throughout this entire year. And, words can't really describe how we feel at this moment, at least how I feel at the moment. I don't think it can explain that. I'm sure emotions will start showing later as you remember everything that took place. But it's these guys and their heart and how hard they work. And, you ask any team we went against, it's why we're one of the hardest playing teams they've went against. It's just nonstop how hard they work. And, we're undersized, but they battle. And they're so hard-nosed. And, credit them to that they're never going to give up no matter what the score is. They just want to compete and they want to win. And, that's to these guys and their credit. I mean, how much joy they gave our community. I mean, the fact there was 4,000 people in attendance and probably half of them were from Lincoln View. I mean, these fans are going to remember this forever. These guys are going to remember it forever. I mean, you're going to have people just running into them. Hey, you remember that, 2026 season that you guys took us on? I mean, that's what you take away from it. I mean, what these guys did for not only me as a coach, but our community and the fans, just people all around, and everyone always asking questions. I mean, I think that's the biggest part that we're going to take away is just how special this season was. How much we love these guys and how much the community loves them. It's just something special that you don't see every year. Obviously, it's extremely difficult to get here. It took us 10 years, and credit these guys. But, we didn't end up where we truly wanted to be. But the fact we're in the final weekend, it's just, fans are still out there probably talking about it. And the fact they got to watch us play, which hasn't happened for a long time. So for them to be able to say that, I think that's something they're going to take from this and continue to talk about this team and just the joy that it was. A lot of people have just told me how fun our team is to watch, and I can't agree 100% more with them, just how special and how hard these guys are and how fun they are to watch.
Back here at the Nutter Center on the campus of Wright State University to wrap this one up, the Marion Local Flyers, they advance to the state title game where they will take on the Berlin Highland Hawks. And I'm telling you right now, this is going to be a physical basketball game, Miles.
You talk about physicality. I always like Marion Local. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the game. Also, Marion Local, are they going to wear suits, the coaching staff, like last year?
Yeah.
Lots of questions to be answered.
Yeah, it feels like for Marion Local, right, we got other teams like this too, but they got to finish. They got to finish what they started last year. They felt like they left some things out there, not happy with how they ended their season last year. A chance to redeem that this year, along with some other teams looking to do the same thing as well tomorrow.
Guys, Lima Senior, Delphos St. John's, Marion Local, all looking to pick up a state title. It's a good time to be a Lima Lamb.
Kalida says so, yeah.
That's right.
They want a chance too, yeah.
That's right. And that'll wrap it up from the Nutter Center here on the campus of Wright State University. Thanks for watching.